February 16th, trying to get the engine out here. I got most of the stuff disconnected. Take out the had to grind the heads off all these bolts in here. This is a 59, and so they're Wentworth or British Standard heads, but they're so close to the edge of the fender that it's hard to get a socket on there. Also ground off some of the fender bolts so that the fenders can spread out a little bit to release the apron. A couple bolts here came out actually pretty easy. Same ones over on this side. Headlight trim or mounting bolts I had to cut off. Put the starter out, generator out, manifolds off, so that the engine will come out nice and easy. Well, it wasn't easy, but I got the nose off. Okay, the radiator's out. Wasn't too bad to get out. Sure is gunky and dirty in there. Sure is some rusty, ugly stuff coming out of the radiator there. And that's after I've changed the antifreeze or coolant twice. I cleaned up one engine mount bolt. As you can see here, it's just a little bit of goop left in here on this. There's the bolt. Okay, I'm trying to get the seats out, and it's all rusted, of course. So there's bolts I'm trying to cut off here. Can't get to it. There's one. There's another one. I got that one out. I've just been cutting it with the saw or the motor tool and the angle grinder, trying to get it down there. I don't really care if I cut the sheet metal pan because that's going to get replaced eventually anyway. But those have started. Then the one's more towards the middle here. See that nut's cut most of the way through. This one's ready to come out. And the last one there is getting close. I'm hoping I can get the tunnel out up in there afterwards. Look at how horribly dirty the transmission and underside of this car is. Alright, keep cutting. Alright, I got that seat out finally. Ground off all the nuts. Doesn't look too good in there. There's a coin in there. I'll have to find out what date that is. There's the bottom of the seat. It looks like half the floor came up with it, but it's mostly the carpeting. Now hopefully I can get the tunnel out. I really don't want to take out the other seat, but we'll see. Okay, I can't get the tunnel out until I take the emergency brake or parking brake lever out. So I gotta take all this apart. Parking brake is out. It did not come out easy. I had to heat this up quite a bit. This bolt with the sleeve on it here freezes in, rusts and freezes in here, so it took a lot of heat to get it out, but I finally got her. Just to document, there's a ground wire from that engine mount up to the block just to get across the rubber mount, I guess. And that's on the driver's side. So I got the tunnel out. It is possible to do it with the driver's seat in and the stick shift on. You just have to watch out for the heater flaps down there. But you can twist it around and get it off. This thing, this gear shift piece here is impossible to get off. It's all rusted on there. I've heated it, I've twisted on it. I'm going to try to take the transmission out with the gear shift on. Then I can take this top plate off and work on it on the bench some more. But there's the tunnel. Okay, just to document the drive shaft, I have one dimple on the flange and the yoke at the front of the car by the transmission stick shift, of course, and two dimples on the back so that I can put it back in exactly the orientation I'm taking it apart. Okay, I have to take this cross member out just under the transmission there. So I have to go forward, but there's some steering linkage in the way and I don't really want to take that out. So I think if I take the cross member out, I can tip the tail of this tranny down enough to get the front of the engine over the steering linkage, and then enough of an angle to get that stick shift underneath the firewall. Not sure it's going to work, but that's the try. Here's the front of the engine, and so that pulley's got to get over that steering linkage. Okay, I got the cross member out. Let's pull the engine forward, and I have clearance for that shift linkage down there, which you can get bent if you're not careful. And I've got the pulley up to the steering linkage, and I started to tip the engine and transmission back. So it looks like this is going to work. And I've got the pulley way above, and now the oil pan's just clearing that steering linkage. Yeah, plenty of room for the throttle linkage. And the stick shift, it's going to be tight, but I think it'll make it. Okay, it's almost out. I just got to push the stick shift down a little bit to get it to clear underneath that firewall. But I need to go get my lovely assistant to pull on the engine lift while I tip the engine a hair more to get that under. That oil tube is a little tough. I wish I knew how to take it off. This is so covered in grease I didn't, but it kind of hangs up in there and you got to be careful of that guy. Success. Okay, out of the car, here's a look at how greasy it is. It's just thick with gunk. Looks like there's two shims on this bolt. When I first took it off, I thought they were just washers, but it looks like they're shims. This tube won't come off. It's only held on by, where is it? Down in here it's on the fuel pump bolt, but it won't come out because of this oil tube here, and it's so gunky I don't even see how to get that off yet. So anyway, I think I'll clean up the transmission a little bit first, and then take it off and clean up the engine. Okay, 2 hours of cleaning. Transmission is almost done. Nooks and crannies need a lot more work, but overall it's much better. Didn't do too much on the block, but a little bit. I can actually see the timing chain cover. There's not a speck of rust on it since it's been immersed in oil and grease for 50 years. This is the new water pump I put on last spring. Kind of see the oil filter connection there. So I don't know how that tube comes in and out. I think it might just be pressed into the block there, but I'll have to dig in a little bit further to tell. I did get the fuel pump off and the line that was connecting to it. And a little bit of bad news. It looks like something let loose inside of the bell housing. If you can see it on the camera, but there's a bulge and a crack there, and another one here. Probably more if I look around harder, but I don't really want to see too many. Anyway, it's a messy job, but getting there.